Why is community important? We are all puzzle pieces, waiting to add more to the picture that is life. We're all puzzle pieces that have the potential of making someone else's picture more complete. We're all puzzle pieces, but within that singular piece that is a human being, there are millions of pictures, stories, and ideas just waiting to be shared. There are pieces that you pick up from when you're a child, from when you're a teenager, and from when you're an adult. The picture is always evolving, and it's always intertwined within other people's puzzles. And that is community. The human need to be complete doesn't just stop at completing oneself. It goes much deeper and beyond that. We strive to complete each other's puzzles. You know that feeling when you find out that someone else thinks or does the same thing as you? It feels like you clicked with someone else's brain. And suddenly, you gain a sense of validity. Once, I was going into a final exam, and I was so stressed out enough that I forgot to eat anything before the exam. And as I was answering the questions and praying that I would find that question that stands out because it's exactly what I had studied for, I heard a dangerous noise. It was my stomach. It was reminding me that I had valued education over my own body. And it made that very clear to the rest of the class. In those moments, I felt like I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me whole. Until a few minutes later, someone else's stomach answered mine, and then another one, and another one. And as silly as that example is, it really gives away the point of the importance of feeling like you are not alone. And it's not like me and those people who had angry stomachs exchanged phone numbers and bonded over our misbehaving stomachs. But I know for a fact that we all came out of that exam feeling a sense of relief. More importantly, and on a much more serious level. That's why there are things such as pain management groups, addiction recovery groups, and not-for-profit organizations. Feeling like you belong. It's why we naturally cluster into groups of people who make us feel valid. This idea of the importance of belonging has a deep and rich history of psychological foundations. Psychologists like Sigmund Freud and John Bowlby explored the human mind and the need to belong. So you'll ask yourselves now, what's the use of all this? Okay, Celia, now I know that community is important. But what's new? What am I supposed to do about that? The answer is simple. Your community is where you thrive. It's where you're perceived. As the philosopher George Berkeley puts it, to be is to be perceived. It makes you feel like you're valid. That's why if you forget about everything else in this talk, and just remember to smile at people you see in your community, you'd be doing yourself a huge favor. That's because we don't know what baggage people around us in our community are carrying. divorce, miscarriages, death of a loved one. Especially during a year like 2020. Through COVID-19, we all felt the power of community. We are all in this together. We heard it from the government, and we heard it from doctors. And without that feeling, everything would have been a million times harder. As my mom always says, death with people is mercy. And what that means is even if you're going through something really bitter, being surrounded by people who understand what you're going through because they're also going through it makes things feel a little less like utter torture. COVID-19 brought the world together in such an ugly yet beautiful way. And it makes you remember how small the world really is. But going back to community, the reason we feel the need to belong goes back to the very roots of humanity. A long time ago, if someone didn't belong to a certain tribe or clan, they might get killed a lot easier. They'd have no one to protect them. It would be a lot harder to find any food or any shelter. And to this day, we feel the need to belong, and that is for a reason. We need other people, and we need other people to need us. Sure, we can find shelter, and we can find food for ourselves. But without community, no matter what that may mean to you personally, without it, there would be no shelter for our hearts and no food for our soul. So, should you donate to your community's charity? Of course, if you have the money. But if you don't, never forget that a smile could be the biggest charity you give to your community. Your smile could make someone feel like they belong and like they are perceived. It could be the missing part of their puzzle piece, and it could prevent them from falling off the edge. This year, I've lost family to life, and I've lost family to death. I've been isolated at home, just like many other people across the globe. And if I felt like I was in all of this alone, I would have been lost, and I would have been empty. Human beings are called social animals for a reason. So, never take your community for granted. Because that is your support system that understands what you're going through. And it's your bigger, extended family. And anytime you get the chance to make someone feel like they belong, anytime you get the chance to make someone's puzzle piece fit better in the community, never forget that you could do that at absolutely no cost. And it will come back to you someday. So, give your love to your community when you need it the most. And that love will find a way to travel back to your own heart. That is the importance of community. And it's how we know we exist. So, there's no one right answer to why community is important. But I hope with all of my heart that this talk was able to shed a little light on your own puzzle piece. Thank you.